Hi, I'm Dawn. I'm happy you're here joining me for my Soul Spark series, Part 5, The Boomerang Effect. And it's just what I'm calling certain phase of my own journey, my own experience. It's not another phase of the twin flame path, which, if you don't already know, is simply one type of a spiritual awakening. Each journey is unique, so just take what resonates with you. Also, I have Relaxdaily playing in the background, his Zest for Life episode, and any references I make in my video, I will include links below. So, this video is a bit different from my others because I'm going to share more details of my own journey, which most of what I discuss in my videos comes from that anyway, but this one has a little more backstory. So, about 9 years ago, my life went through a massive deconstruction and it seemed completely out of my control. And during that time, I learned humility on a whole new level, like nothing, no way I've ever experienced before. And it's not that I was arrogant or anything, but I definitely did not know how to just let someone give to me. I didn't know how to receive from people. So during that time, I had to accept and even ask for help from family and friends. And it took a few years before I started being able to climb out of that hole that I was in. And during that time, I had gradually stopped doing things I loved, like traveling and exploring new places. Writing was always a big one for me, painting, drawing, creative things, but also dating, hiking, just spontaneous weekend beach trips. And I kept telling myself and really close people like my sister or my niece that it felt like I had lost myself. And I thought I was depressed for a while and tried medication for a short period of time, but it didn't agree with me. And I didn't want to be on medication anyway, so I didn't keep trying with that. But for a long time, I had just given up on myself. And I really felt lost in the world, but more so to myself. So it took a few years, but eventually I got back into my groove. And even though things were better for me, I still didn't have the desire to do the things that I used to do. So there's this song by Naughty Boy and Beyonce called Runnin', Lose It All. And it deeply resonated with me because I felt like I had lost myself. And I thought, if I didn't have me, what did I have? And at the time, I thought it was a love lost kind of song, which I'm horrible with lyrics. I guess I listen more to the music first, and I usually have to look the lyrics up. But I was especially drawn to the part of the song where she sings, "If I lose myself, I lose it all." And I later looked up the lyrics, like I said, and come to find out it's actually about how a relationship is only as strong as its parts. And in being true to yourself, you can show up for each other. So after I met my twin flame and I began going through some changes, this song stood out to me even more. And I thought it was funny because it mentions running and chasing, and that's partially what runner energy is about, like running because you can't face that which you're afraid of. And a lot of that comes from within ourselves. And something else I learned, something I had read about early on in the journey, is that we need to heal abandonment wounds. And I didn't fully understand that for a while because I felt like I didn't really hold on to those kinds of wounds. And maybe for the most part I didn't, but there were some things that were a part of that, like trusting people. That stemmed from abandonment. But the kicker was that it wasn't so much all of that for me. I mean, it was, but it wasn't the main focus. The main focus was actually directly on me. Like all those years, I had given up on myself. I stopped showing up for myself, fighting for myself. And I didn't ever look at it as me having abandoned myself until something was said one day. It was a video that I had watched. And the way she put it just really, it made it click for me. And so when I realized this, which was a good while after soul recognition, I broke out into tears, realizing that if I'm willing to make and keep promises for people like my twin flame, but I'm not willing to do that for myself. Like if I make a promise to myself, but I fail to keep that promise, I'm letting myself down. Even though I'm the one making excuses to myself, I'm not being true to me. I'm not being honest with me. And that means I'm not ready for union with my twin flame because I just believe that wouldn't be allowed until I can prove to myself that I'm willing to stand up for myself, to be there for me, to keep promises to me. So, back to the song, it actually is about how if you don't have yourself, then you can lose it all. So, right after I met my twin flame, something happened, like a big sign that was put in front of me, with a very direct message and repeatedly. And I somehow knew it had to do with this person I just met. And at the time, I didn't know he was a twin flame because I didn't know I was a twin flame. I'd never heard of twin flames before. But something in me told me that this person would be back very matter of factly. And I didn't understand it at the time, but it just stuck with me. And even though I just thought I was strangely infatuated with him, like unbelievably so, I still thought it would pass. But like twin flames do, I only thought of him 24/7, nonstop, crashing waves of thoughts down on me, drowning me. But then I came across the terms twin flames, and I thought it was ridiculous at first. Like there was something about pain and trauma, and I'm like, no, that's not what I'm going through. um, I hadn't gotten that far yet. So I didn't really read it that first time, just kind of scanned through it. But I was desperately searching for some reasonable explanation for what I was experiencing. But the second time I came across it, I actually read more about it, and eventually I began to accept it as a possibility. Then I find out it's actually a spiritual journey. And that took a few weeks of acceptance too, because, well, my beliefs during that downtime had also gotten deconstructed. So once I came to see this as a spiritual journey, I started understanding why those things happened to me all those years earlier. So a few months in, I learned that it was mostly about self-love. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make this my twin flame journey song because I felt like I was making some positive strides in my life, such as after I was triggered, I started painting again, playing guitar a little, getting outside, walking, swimming. And more, I got back to the things that I love without even trying. And it just happened that, I wanted to do them. And now I enjoy some part of them every day. But then something else resonated with this song. Of course, it mentions running and chasing, which makes me want to think of what twin flames go through. And then there's the fact that two people are singing it. But I started deeply feeling something was changing. Like, yeah, I had been changing, but I could feel my energy changing. Our energy was changing. And something told me that we had traded places. And I thought maybe the runner chaser roles because I'd read, that at some point you both experience both roles. Um, but I had only been in chaser mode. So I wasn't sure if that was it at first, but it did feel that way to me because I wasn't in chasing energy anymore. And, that had just slipped away from me. But then those signs I had gotten after I met my twin flame came up again. And that feeling like I was being guided. And at this point, I had really gotten better about trusting my spiritual guidance and recognizing that gentle voice of guidance from my higher self versus the pushing, demanding one from my ego. But it was, for me, a confirmation that things were turned around. Like he was starting to do the work on his side. And I called this the boomerang effect, which lines up with the whole energy thing too, like how you get back what you put out there. Because I had been doing the work consistently and maintaining a high vibrational frequency, like people were noticing this about me. And I let go of toxic patterns. I was meditating daily. I am meditating daily. And more importantly, I really changed the way I look at myself. And I feel like I went through a transformation really quickly with that, where I just completely stopped thinking and saying negative things about myself. And I really started appreciating who I am. And And there were a lot of little things that were evidence of how I was focusing on myself now and not my twin flame. And it made me think, if I can love my twin flame for who he is, as he is, then I have to be able to love myself as I am. And with that, all of this came in a little at a time. And I got a message about the so-called boomerang effect, which was to now turn it around on myself. Like my playlist of songs that I'd gotten throughout my journey, for example. I was told to take the messages of each song and to see if I could apply them to myself now. So one I'll share with you. It was a cute, fun song. It wasn't one of the, really blow me away songs, but so I had watched the movie Zombies on Disney Plus, which is about a sweet, popular girl who falls for a guy who was a zombie at her school. And in the movie, they use the phrase "from the wrong side of the tracks," which is like the side of town where the zombies have to live. So they go to school together, but there's some segregation and they have to sneak around. And it's really cute and charming. But I had saved a song from the show to a playlist back then, which was 2018. And I was scrolling through that list one day a couple of months ago for the first time in years. And I heard that voice tell me, "This song is for you." And it was Someday from that movie. And I played it, and I couldn't remember the song until I started playing it. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember this. But then I started thinking, wait, what? Wait a minute. It's about two people. Well, a girl and a zombie. But it's like they're from two different worlds, and society doesn't think they should be together. So there's that message. But and also, okay, so I'll put the links below, but I'll put 2 links below because there's a Ballad version too, and they're both really good. So coming into my understanding and feeling of self-worth and how my feelings for my twin flame intertwine with that, like it's balancing out. And when I look at one or think about one, meaning myself or my twin flame, I think of the other. Like the way I truly see us now is as one. I don't see separation. And it's not about separation being an illusion or not. If you've heard some people talk about how you're not separated, it's all an illusion. Like, I get that, but we are still physically here experiencing this. And we're meant to recognize that. Like, don't deny it. That's a huge part of the reason we're on the twin flame path of this spiritual journey. And my next video will go deeper into that. But I've said it before, how I disagree with how some people say union isn't about physical union. It's not meant to be physical, that it's spiritual. And as soon as you realize that, the easier this all becomes. And it is spiritual. I don't disagree with that. But it is also physical. It's one of the biggest distinguishing factors of a twin flame journey versus other types of spiritual journeys. That's why the soul is bringing in the duality of feminine, masculine, spiritual, physical. It's there, right there. Physical, spiritual. The body is meant to get back home, to align with soul. We're brought through all of this to understand that on so many levels. And okay, but I'll save that for the next one. I just get really passionate about that. So the point of this is that I'm now able to go back through my list and apply the songs to myself and to my soul, which is also my twin flame. Like, for example, the song Someday about the girl and the zombie. In relation to my soul or to my twin flame, it could be seen as supernatural or abnormal in the eyes of society for various reasons. But to turn it around on myself, not just see it as a song that applies to my journey, which turning it inward is part of that. And that's the beauty of this. It all comes together when you align. So much of it intertwines as one. But my question is concerning that song, like they were coming into acceptance of being with each other, as in someday they'll be together without caring what others think about it. So, okay, like when I got the song for my journey, I applied it to my journey, my twin flame. And I asked myself then at that point, could I see myself not caring what people think when I'm with my twin flame? And now I'm turning it around on myself and I'm asking, Can I see myself not caring what people think when I'm being my authentic self, not shutting myself down to try to please people and, that sort of thing? Like, I'm working on following my heart. I also brought this up to show that the other day I was getting ready for work and I was standing in front of the bathroom mirror and I had music playing and Running, Lose It All came on. And I remembered that I was supposed to be working my way through my playlist to apply each of the songs to myself. So I'm there singing along, and I remember that, and I start really looking myself in the eye. And it just made so much sense. And it made me cry because I'm at that place where I can really appreciate what I've been through, even since I was a kid, and that I've been able to let go of that conditioning, that thinking that held me back in a lot of ways. But I recognize that I'm watching out for me now in new ways, and I'm loving myself, and I'm not running from who I am anymore. And here's the drop. What does that mean for my soul? What does that mean for the shared energy between myself and the person that shares my soul? If I'm not chasing anymore, if I'm not running anymore. I hope you'll join me for my next video, which will ask questions, and hopefully I'll have some insight. But the big one is, why, if we're meant to serve a purpose, why do we struggle and spend so much time going through this journey? Why aren't we spending time actually serving our purpose?